Hi everybody, I hope you are all well. Um, I am filming this really early on Sunday morning. It's like 6:10 in the morning and I woke up really abruptly and I can't get back to sleep, so I sound tired. I've got like big bags under my eyes and I have nothing to do right now. So I was going to do this video after I got ready for the day, but now I'm like, screw it, I'm going to do it before. So forgive the bed hair. Um, so what I've been up to this week, obviously still working and such. I've got 2 more weeks to go and then I've got 2 weeks off and I am so looking forward to that. Um, and I took a really big step this week for my anxiety and such that I've been going through of late with COVID restrictions ending, which I've mentioned in previous videos. I had a day in the office. One of my friends and colleagues, Katie, came as well, so I wouldn't be on my own because we have got like 7 desks available to us in the area that usually held about 30. But yeah, people can book, whichever of those 7 desks they like and such, but nobody else was coming in on the day that I was going in, and so Katie, bless her, she didn't want me to be on my own, so she booked a desk as well, and we also went out to lunch. So I had my first day in the office and my first restaurant experience since COVID restrictions have changed. And yeah, but my first restaurant experience in 18 months. And yeah, it was the office as well, 18 months. So yeah, Monday was a big deal for me, and I'm so proud of myself for doing it. Katie, it was nice having a catch up with her. And yeah, I had a nice pizza for lunch. I think I deserved the pizza. I was gonna have like a pizza and salad, but I was starving, so I was like, no, pizza. It has to be pizza. But anyway, enough about me. I'm here to talk about the book I have been reading this week, which is Girl, Woman, Other by Bernardine Evaristo. So, a little bit of backstory. In 2019, Bernadine came to the Cheltenham Literature Festival, and I saw her talking about this book. It was, it was either right after the Booker Prize nominees had been announced, or it was like right before. And when I say right before, I mean like the week before. The Booker Prize winner was announced. I have a feeling it was the latter, but I can't exactly remember. But she won the Booker Prize for this book alongside, for the first time ever, there were 2 winners. It was her and Margaret Atwood for her sequel to Handmaid's Tale. So I had seen her talking about this book, and she was saying how there is a shocking lack of Black British women portrayed in literature, and she wanted to write a book to correct that, where Black British women dominated the book and told their stories. And I thought, oh, okay, that's really interesting. I thought that'd be quite good to read. But that was October 2019. I had loads of books that I had bought. And then 2020 rolled around and I had my year of I'm not allowed to buy a book for a year. So I had to wait until 2021 to buy this book. And so I bought it, and now I've read it. And unfortunately, I couldn't finish it. I got through the first section, because to give you an overview of the story, this covers the lives of 12 women, mostly Black women, in Britain, and it's split into 4 parts. So you've got a cluster of 3 stories per part, and the 3 characters in each part are connected somehow. So they could be related, they could be friends, they could be people who just randomly bumped into each other. That's their connection, and you learn about their lives. And although it was promising, I had serious issues with this book. I found it extremely problematic, and I had major issues with characters, to the point I was like, you know what, it's not worth it. It's not worth it. I have, especially this year, come to the realization that I don't have to read every book that I come across. In previous years, I think the highest number of books I've DNF'd, finish, in a year was, I think, 2. This year, I think this is number 5 or possibly 6. I don't know. I'd need to have a look back in my in my records of all the notes that I wrote about the various books. Because I've come to the conclusion that it's just not worth my time. If something is really not doing it for me, if something is so problematic like this book where it's making me feel uncomfortable just to read words off a page, not worth it. Stop. And it's been quite a long time since I've actually DNF'd a book this year. It's got to be probably about 5 months, I think, maybe. So it's been a while, but I'm like, you know what? I can't do it. I cannot do it. So, key question I have: what is the actual plot of this book? Now, as I said, it's covering 12 women, following their lives, telling us their story. But a book's got to have an underlining plot. I like the concept. It kind of reminds me of Talking Heads, Alan Bennett's Talking Heads. If you don't know that, look it up. It's basically a series of monologues that he did two series of for BBC Radio. And, well, to start off with, the first set of Talking Heads was a play that he did, which wasn't that well received, and then it went on, he did radio versions of the same monologues, and it really took off from there, and it's become this classic. And he did a second series as well, and they're all absolutely brilliant, so I'd strongly recommend you checking out those. I might actually, if I remember by the time I upload this video, which is going to be later in the day, I'll put the links to Talking Heads, both series from Audible, in the description. So yeah, enough about Talking Heads. So I thought, all right, is this going to be like Talking Heads? Well, we've got these individuals, but the thing about Talking Heads is that every single story is a complete individual with no connections to anybody else in the collection, but they have such wonderful stories that are so in depth and just, oh god, they live in my heart and soul. I love that collection. That's what I thought this was going to be, and it wasn't. As I said, I couldn't get past the first section, and the characters within that first section drove me mad. I was so frustrated with them. So the 3 characters who I met were Amma, who is a woman living in London. She's in her 40s, she's a playwright, she's just getting her latest play put on to the National Theatre in the UK, which is a big deal in the theatre world. Then you have her 19-year-old daughter Yaz, who is extremely politically fueled. She is at university in London. She is spoilt rotten. I'm going to put it bluntly, she is. And she has basically been raised and also truly believes that, in a way, she's kind of like a god figure, that the world revolves around her. She is completely right about everything, everyone is completely wrong, and nothing satisfies her more than pissing off people and putting them in their place, including her parents, which I will go over in a bit. And then you have Dominique, who is Emma's best friend, and she has been living in America for the past 20 years. She was a playwright. She and Emma dreamed of having this great career in theatre, and she went down another path. She emigrated to America, and she ended up living in a women's commune, which has its issues. So that's as far as I got. Those three characters, that's their overview, that's as far as I got with this book. Now, all the characters who I met, I want to stress that, who I met, because I only read that first 100-odd pages, I couldn't stand them. Couldn't stand them, especially Yaz. Yaz drove me up the wall. She is a girl who has never been told no. She is a girl who, honestly, the stuff she comes out with, I'm like, I really hope life slaps her hard in the fucking face. I really do. Because, girl, just, oh my God, I couldn't believe the things she was coming out with. She, I'm going to read a bit in just after I finish this poem, but she honestly said things like she would date 30-year-old men because they really like fucking teenagers. And I'm like, okay. And she also strongly believes that older generations have completely fucked up the world, fucked up the life of all young people, and that we older people don't deserve to have any power. The power has to be ripped from them, and they need to learn the things that they have done to screw up the younger generation. And I'm like, I'm 35. Potentially, it's never happened, but potentially I could have a 19-year-old teenager. If I had a 19-year-old teenager who said that to me and said what I'm about to read to you to my face, I would be going shit crazy on them. Like, how dare you? How dare you? So I'm just going to read a bit. That's not that bit. Here we go. So this is Amma, her ex, and Kenny. Sorry, Kenny is a separate character. I should say that. So it's Yaz's parents and godfather Kenny who were in a room together talking. So Kenny did ask her a bit less negative towards Dad the other day after he'd gone upstairs in a huff over harmless comments that she made. Yaz replied she was going through her cynical late teenage years. I just can't help it, Kenny. Once I come out all lovable again on the other side, I'll let you know. Kenny cracked up at that one. He likes to remind her that he'd known her since she was a sperm among millions in Dad's test tube, and when Mum used to complain that she was giving her a good kicking inside her womb. To which she quipped back that it was because she had an embryotic premonition she was going to be born into poverty. Once she graduated and working, she's going to persuade Mum to sell her house. Correction, their house, which is now worth a fortune thanks to Mum's gentrification of Brixton. Mum can downsize to a bungalow, which will be very practical for a woman of her age. Probably in one of the unfashionable seaside towns where they'll be cheaper. With the money left over from the sale of the house, Yaz can buy a small flat. 1 bedroom will do for now. Helping me on the property ladder will be the defining act of your life, Mumsy. She didn't reply. Like, Yaz, why don't you go, get your degree, go out, get a job, earn money, save up that money, get a mortgage, and buy a property knowing that you did that all on your own. Just like this, I can't help but call her a girl because even though she's 19, she's not a woman. I just, she drove me nuts. As I said, she likes to put people in their place. she likes to get her dad really wound up and angry. She has a pretty complex relationship with her dad. I'm not going to say too much because I don't want to spoil too much. I know I've probably spoiled a bit already, but I need to explain my issues, but I don't want to. It's not like I'm actually reading a whole section of what I read to you guys. So there's a load of stuff that I haven't even mentioned that you can look into if you want to look at this book. Um, but she talks a lot about the Oppression Olympics. At one point, she calls her mum a feminist Nazi. Like, who the hell do you think you are? I couldn't stand her. I couldn't stand her. I think also Amma kind of really was problematic as well. Um, she kind of decided to have a baby because she got broody, kind of, I'm going to do, like, she was just like, I'm going to do that, I'm going to do that, and then didn't think about the consequences and parenting and such. But Yaz quickly realised how to get her mum around her little finger, and so she's, in a way, created this monster who I cannot stand. I'm just going to have a quick look at what this other thing that I bookmarked. What did it say? Oh, yes. So, yeah, this is another interesting gem of stuff that I had to read, which just made me feel so uncomfortable. Yaz sometimes has sleepless nights worrying that she'll be alone for the whole of her life. If she can't get a proper boyfriend at 19, what hope was there for when she was older? A couple of Mum's female friends have been single for decades, not the lesbians who have little problem getting off with each other, but the straight ones who get good jobs and houses and no partner to share it with, who say that they're not prepared to settle at this stage in their lives. Mum accuses them of looking for Obama syndrome behind their backs. I'm like, oh God, that is just so uncomfortable. And it's like, I am a woman. I work hard. I've got a decent job that I enjoy. I have my own house. I'm not with someone. I'm perfectly happy that way. And I'm being made to feel like that. It's just like, so it's just a bit like, I felt kind of judged the whole time I was reading this book, up to the point where I went, right, that's it, I'm done. 100 pages is kind of my limit to go, okay, I've read enough of this book. How do I really feel about it? And do I want to carry on with it? And to read this, I found it so difficult. The things that are said, and just things like, what we just heard, where it referred to, oh, where was it? Oh, I've just lost it. Perfect. Oh no, wait, there we go. Yeah, the lesbians who had little problem getting off with each other. What kind of language is that? Getting off with each other. There was a lot of language like that throughout that just jarred me. And for a final bit of reading, just to explain about that wording, Dominique finds herself, as I said, in a women's community in America, which has very strict rules that everyone has to follow. And here's a little description of those rules. Did she miss men? Never. The women of Spirit Moon is what it's called, try to live in harmony. Even when arguments break out, we have a talk circle and try to sort it out. Women can also choose to live hundreds of acres apart from things until 100 acres apart until things cool down. A feud might take years to heal. In time, there's forgiveness, even if scars remain. Occasionally, a resident is forced to leave over unsanctionable behaviour, such as violence or theft. If a woman goes straight, goes straight, that wording, and wants relationships with men, she has to leave. But if she's celibate, she can stay. Once we had a woman who turned and was caught sneaking men to go onto her property at night, so she had to go. And I'm like, go straight? What? Just, I just find that so uncomfortable. Um, so I mean, obviously, I read loads of books from loads of genres. I've covered a wide span of things. Last week, I finished The Evening and the Morning by Ken Follett, and in that, I mentioned in the review that there is a horrific murder of a newborn baby within minutes of its birth, and that was really like, oh my god, I wanted to flag that because that's really horrific scene. I would take that over this any day. Any day. I just I just felt so uncomfortable reading this. The characters, yeah, I couldn't connect to. The characters I couldn't stand whatsoever. And to be honest, I thought this book was going to teach me something. Since Bernadine spoke about how there is a lack of Black British women represented in literature, I thought in a way it was going to be like, not the same, but like The Hate You Give. If you haven't read that book, check it out. It's absolutely fabulous. I really enjoyed reading that book. And what I mean is that in The Hate You Give, Star and her family, who are in America and get involved, get caught up in police brutality incident, and Star, our main character, learns about activism and fighting for what is right. She is black, as is her family, and through the way it was written, I learned about that family, their community, their connections, the music that they listened to, the food that they ate, even things like how the way that Star does her hair, things like that. I thought I was going to get that kind of thing reflecting Black Britain. And it wasn't. The characters were, instead of saying, welcome, this is a community that you may not have been exposed to before, welcome, come meet us. It was, I felt completely forced back. I I don't understand why this won the Booker Prize. But then it could well be that the first section, after that point, there were, other characters who were very, very, different and such, that I didn't get to meet. But how am I supposed to get to meet those characters if you shoved ones down my throat who basically told me that I had, as an older generation, as a woman in Britain, that I had fucked up the life of younger people, and that my life meant nothing because I didn't have a partner, and so even I'm an independent woman and such, that Yaz feels that my life is nothing. And it just, no, I was just like, you know what, it's not worth it, it's not worth it. You know what, Yaz, I have some power in that I have the power to close the book and put it away. Sorry, I couldn't do it. I couldn't do it. Now, because I didn't get past like the first section, I went on Goodreads to have a look at people's comments. There were quite a few people who would put, rave reviews, but overall, the score was only like 4.3 out of 5. And for a Booker Prize winner, that's not good. That is not good. So I had to delve into the various reviews, and if you look at the 1 and 2 stars, you really, I was like, oh my god, I'm not alone. There are people who feel exactly the same way as I do, who couldn't believe the terms and such that we use in this book, and couldn't stand the characters and felt disconnected just like me. So I was like, oh, thank God I'm not on my own. And there were some who referred to various events that happened throughout the book. So I learned about some things later on in the book. And there was one review who was horrified by Yaz and the stuff that I've mentioned. But also, there apparently one character who I haven't met, I don't know who it was because they didn't state the character's name, but she meets her daughter's boyfriend, who's the same age as her daughter. And as soon as seeing this teenage boy, she describes as wanting to run her hands all over his body and grab his crotch. And I'm like, oh my God. Just, I get that characters are very different, they're going to think different. If I didn't understand that, I wouldn't be a fan of reading because, every book would be like, oh, startling. But there's a line where it's like this has gone over from being entertaining, fictional world, all that lot entertaining, to being really, really uncomfortable. And a woman looking at a teenage boy who she's never met before in like the first minute that she meets him, thinking that when he is the same age as her daughter, that he could be her son. And it's just no, I can't do it. So with a plot that just didn't exist, characters who I couldn't stand, wording that was just weird, and to add to it, I'm going to choose a page at random. I don't know what this page, because obviously it's well over the 100 page point. Hopefully you can read that in this poor lighting at 6:30 in the morning. But basically, Bernadine has written this with no punctuation. There is the occasional comma and the occasional question mark, but that's it. All full stops are gone. And every time you reach the end of a sentence, like up here, the next sentence is on a separate line. You've got a line break. Why? It jarred me so much trying to figure out why she did that. I've not come across this before. I don't know if, because this is my first time I've read one of her books, I don't know if it's her style. I don't know if it's just this book. But why did you need that? It was almost as if, you know how some books, when you get them, there's a massive block of just blank space at the top of the page and the bottom, and then the text is actually in the middle. It kind of felt like, I wonder if the hardback cover was like that, because did she get like a page count that she had to hit? And so she's like, right, take out the full stops and punctuation and put every sentence on a brand new line, and that will fill up the pages. Like, what was the point of that? I got more baffled the more I went through, the more I think about it. And so, yeah, for a lack of plot, characters I couldn't stand, things that are said that truly startled me, problematic throughout, and a book that has had all of its grammar removed. How did this win the Booker Prize? I'm baffled. I'm baffled by it. But that's why I couldn't finish it, guys. I tried my best. But not every book is for everyone. I know that. There's bound to be people, as you can see if you look at Goodreads, there are thousands of people who love this book. But there are plenty of people who are like me who didn't. So I'm not an anomaly, as it were, of I'm the only one who's ever read this book who couldn't get along with it. But I wish Bernadine all the best. It's a shame. It's a real shame that this didn't turn out to be what I thought or hoped it would be. But yeah, Girl, Woman, Other is a no from me. So those are my thoughts on Girl, Woman, Other by Bernadine Evaristo. It's time to ask the questions. Would I read this again? No. No way. No way in hell am I reading this again. Would I read any more of her books? Now I'm willing to do that. I have said about multiple authors many times on this channel that just because I didn't get along with one of their books, that doesn't mean that I won't get along with other books. And I usually, if I've had issue with a book by an author, I usually give them like a few at the very least, a few of their books ago, to give a fair, you know, fair range of their work, and then judge if I would read their books again. So this is my first book of Bernadine's I've ever read, so I would definitely give one of her other books a go and see how I feel about it. But right now, I need to distance myself from Bernadine and read some other books. Maybe 2022, I might give another one of her books a go. But yeah, we'll just have to see. Would I recommend this to anyone? No, I wouldn't. I really wouldn't. It's too problematic. I just couldn't recommend it. So there we go. So those are my thoughts on Girl, Woman, Other by Bernadine Evaristo. Have you read this book? I'd love to know what you think. Leave me a comment in the comments box below. Or leave me a thumbs up, thumbs down. Entirely up to you. I'll let you decide. And I'll be back with my thoughts on my next read, which I'm really looking forward to reading. It's non-fiction, true crime, and it's Hunting Evil Inside the Ipswich Serial Murders by Paul Harrison and David Wilson. So yeah, see what I think about that when I am done. Alright guys, bye.